Hello, Saber Junkies. So here we are again. I have a hell of a thing to show you. This was insane, but Saber Museum contacted me and wanted me to do this install, and I had to basically start from scratch on the chassis on it, because he wanted to make it with the handles and the staff. So these handles and the staff all in one without changing anything out, and also to have a spinning crystal chamber. And well, it's pretty conclusive that it's impossible to do. Okay, you have to do a few things kind of out of the ordinary, I guess you could say, to get it actually accomplished. I'm actually amazed that I was able to do it. I didn't think I would be, but I went ahead and put in the time to just see if I could, you know. This has been an ongoing thing for quite some time for him, and I wanted to be able to see if I could do it. Mainly, it's a hell of a challenge, you know. Just about everybody said it was impossible. So that, you know, of course, sparked a little flame inside my head and said, oh, this I have to try, you know. So that pretty much leads us to looking at it. Let's go over here and look at it. This is the Fallen Order from 89 Sabers. And as you can see, it's in the staff mode. Best thing to do is just to open this dude up and take a look at it. And so there they are. I had these printed at Shapeways after I did some test prints on them and made sure that everything would work as it should. And let's pull one of them out here. This is what I wound up doing. Let me just show you real quick here. So I've got some of these. This is what I've come up with. So this is the G16 disconnect AV switch, AV connector. That has been used on a lot of different types of builds, blades, and just all kinds of stuff. This is one of the first things I used on making removable chassis before we had the 6-trace PCBs. And what I wound up doing here, because I wanted to be able to remove it, of course, because if I didn't, then wouldn't be able to get to the board or anything. So I wound up actually cutting this down on the lathe and exposing the inner piece here, and then that wound up going up inside of here to connect to the Shtok V3. Oops, it's up there. Where's my camera? There it is. And this is actually sitting inside there, locked down with one of the set screws. And so then this goes up inside there and locks in place like this. And that transfers the power to the PCB and the emitter. And of course, you know, things don't just fit perfectly. I had to cut this down, turn this down right here so it would fit inside of here. Otherwise, it basically was the same size as this. So I had to cut these down, and that way I could get them in there and then actually screw them in here. So we have brass. This is a full brass crystal chamber right here, and I've got it to where the crystal actually spins. And up inside here, I have the 9 LED PCB by Cantina. And here we have the board and the battery. Got a little bit of high heat temp tape there just for insulation. And this just snaps into place. So this has to go in a certain way. We've got a curve right here, and that curve goes underneath the large plunger. The deep one goes under the small plunger. So it's pretty direct fit. You have to kind of wiggle it around just a little, get it right in there, and it fits real good. And of course the lit pommels here. So this works as a single hilt. Your lit pommel there. And then this one is the same, of course. I have this set on idle out.
We're keepers of the peace, not soldiers.
Same type of setup. There's a little space right here to put your thumbnail to pop the covers up. Get to the battery. Now this is a, what is this? 18350. Look at my. Yes, 18350. That's what size battery this is right here. And that's what made this possible. After I got it printed, it was so close, these two butting up against each other inside of here, that I actually had to do machine work on it after the fact. Let me show you this here. Okay, So for the staff, as you can see, it's right on it. I mean, right down the line. So when I first test fitted these and I got them in there, they were actually a tad bit too long. So as you can see, really you can't see, but they are right up against each other. Probably about 1/8 of an inch, maybe closer to 3/16. And what I had to wind up doing once I got the chassis back from Shapeways is I had to put the chassis in the lathe and cut down the speaker housing just a little bit so that it would set in there a little bit deeper. I had to take it to the absolute limit, because usually in a speaker housing I will leave a few millimeters extra for the depth of the speaker, and I was not able to do that on these. Without the lit pommels it would work just fine, but because of the extra length there, that kept it from fitting the way I had figured it. So once I got everything together and test fitted, yeah, that's what it boiled down to. And so here I've got some of those screws. Let me see. This is actually a 3-piece setup. So you have the lower, upper, and then the chassis and everything connects that way. And I did some painting on it. I think it turned out really good. Happy with it. Happy with the way it looks. And simply because of the way that the switches line up, there's no way to put it in wrong. Because if you tried to put it in this way, it wouldn't work because of this depth here. And each of these are flipped. So you have this one and lines up with the large plunger, and this one lines up with the small plunger. Sort of a mirror image. So yeah, that is the gist of it. I wish I could say more on these, but all I can really say is it was a challenge. It was without a doubt a challenge to do this. Personally, I don't know. I was going to say that I don't really want to do it again. But nah, the designing is what took the longest. I mean, it took about a month for me to, when I started figuring out how I was going to do it, until I completed the design. And that was with several prototype prints and getting everything, just tweaked as much as possible, and then getting it off to Shapeways to print And once Shapeways got it back, of course, at that point, even then, there was work to be done with how this fit and everything. When you make these, you know, you leave a certain amount of tolerance for the fit of it. And I didn't want it to fit loose. I wanted it to fit snug, so the tolerance that I gave it wasn't a large number. I just made it pretty close, and so there was a lot of filing that had to be done. And up here on these, there's actually pins in there that hold this together as well as this, and then of course you have all of the screws here that come down glued inside of there. And yeah, it was a challenge. I think one of the, besides the length of it and getting everything to fit in there just right, one challenge was to be able to run the wires, because as you can see, there's really not much room to run wires. I've got all of the wires running up through here, and you can tell, let's see,
We're keepers of the peace, not soldiers.
you can tell that there's not much room in there for running the wires, so the channel is very thin right through here to be able to run not only, let's see, 3 wires for the switches. You've got the main, aux, and the ground, and then the 3 wires for the emitter PCB, and then the 3 wires for the crystal chamber PCB. Now I could have run off of the power, you know, the positive, could run that if I had to absolutely have that extra room for 1 wire, but no, I was able to run all of them through there. I think that's 9 wires, and surprisingly got everything in there. I'm proud of this, proud of being able to get this done. Wasn't expecting it. Now on the lining up of this, it does have to go on a certain way to get it to line up as it should. So you want your main button. So yeah, now it lines up nice and straight. Of course, this is due to 89 Sabers' ingenious way of clocking these threads. This is always an issue with clocking threads when it comes to parts. I mean, take for example the flagship crystal chamber extensions, and having to clock them. It is a pain to do these things. This was ingenious right here, because they actually have screws under here that allow you to literally turn the threads to where you need them to be and lock them down, which is just awesome. This is the one thing about this, being able to line this staff up, that I loved it. I loved the way that they designed that. Now, it's been, I want to say, at least 2 years. At least 2 years since I milled these out. It's been a long time that I milled these out, and I remember being in such a hurry on it that the work that I did on it was not my best work, but they it straightened out and turned out really good. Sometimes when you get sent things and it's just like, hey, can you mill these out right here? And then so you put that in between doing the scratch build and you're in a hurry. I can remember that. Like I said, it's been a long time ago. So this thing's been in the works for quite some time. I'm going to splice in a video to show the blades and everything working on this. I'm very happy with it. I'm very happy with the way it turned out. And yep, it was a long time to finish it, for sure. I think I had to wire one of the chassis completely over again, just simply because of how everything had to be run, the wire management and stuff. Really, every wire mattered. Every placement of everything mattered, and the way everything's set in there. And so, yeah. Very happy. The sound is great. It's kind of neat being able to see the LEDs in there, because usually that's not like that. See, I've done one of these before where I made 3 chassis. I made one full chassis, and then I made 2 separate chassis, so you could the one full chassis that I made had a speaker, 2 batteries, 1 board. Everything was controlled by either switch, could be done. Didn't want to do that on this one. Wanted to make it work with just the 2 chassis. So that was the goal. I could have done it the other way. I don't know that I would have been able to get the crystal chambers in. Possibly, probably, but like I said, the main thing on this was to get it with just 2 chassis. And yeah, so I guess that's it, guys. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, comment, let me know what you think, and I will see you on the next one.